Mr. Chairman of PEROSH and Vice Chairman. It is pleasure, beautiful Professor Pauline Bonges and Andrew Curran from UK, and our guests, distinguished guests and our friends. So we are today after yesterday evening, raining evening. So we are elite raining men and women yesterday, but today the forecast of weather is much better. So we are very pleased to welcome you to our house. And here you can see how we build this place. And this meeting is something like wedding ceremony for us. Because you're coming and you can see the effect of this work. And so I would like to thank very warmly to our chair of PEROSH, Professor Dietmar Reinert, director of Institute of Occupational Safety in St. Augustine in Germany. And the thanks is special on this reason that he agreed to launch in Warsaw his initiative. It is his own initiative to build bridges between young and experienced researchers. So thank you very much, Dietmar, again. And when we met normally every year as directors of OSH institutes, so we are only 12 persons. And today our group is much greater and the mean age of us is much lower. so it is good signal. So we can have chance do something with young friends. And the restaurant yesterday, it was called Allegoria. So I would like to set glory for all of you and have a good stay. Thank you very much, and now coming time for chair.
Yeah, also good morning from my side. I hope you had a good night after this wonderful evening. Thank you very much, Danuta, and all your team, the team of Danuta. It was a very, very good pleasure evening. Before we start, let me tell you some organizational things. Mrs. Dorota Kostowska will paint our results. So after the meeting, you see what we are talking about. You see it, not only to hear, you see it also. And also in the other rooms, we have 3 parallel sessions later on. We have conference painters, so we have 3 conference painters. All the presentations are painted. After the first plenary lecture this morning, we split up in 3 groups. The Aging at Work group will stay here. And the other 2 groups, the e-tools for working environments and the prevention through design group, will go into the old SHIOP building, the other SHIOP building. Katarzyna and Mariola will guide you there. So please, we do not have a coffee break after the keynote. We go directly into split up directly into the 3 groups. So please, the ones who want to go to the session 2 or 3, go out after the plenary, and the others, so session 1, Aging at Work, please stay here. We had, as Danuta said, the name of this conference is Translational Research in OSH. In my house, we always discuss, do we need more research, or do we need to apply the research we do? What is the result for the companies? We are an insurance institute, so at the end, what we do is it's very important that it changes the behavior, or changes the situations in the companies. So no academic, basic research is our focus, but the applied research at the workplaces. This morning, Max Lamm is our keynote speaker. He built up a perfect system to use new media and spread it in the NIOSH news, research results at the workplaces. This is perfect. That is what we need. We need not only a good scientific research, we need to spread our research. And we will learn now a lot from Max, and I've learned in the past a lot from your work. And he will more or less give us the light to find our way to the digital natives. I hope some of you are digital natives here, so the younger ones, but you will show us how we find to them. Wait a minute.
Too anxious.
Dr. Lamm served for 14 years as NIOSH's communication director, responsible for initiatives in health and communication, marketing and media relations, and served as team leader for the international program portfolio of the Institute until his retirement on January the 1st, 2011. Currently serves as a senior advisor at NIOSH, Office of the Director and E-Communication and Research Translation Issues. Before moving to Washington, D.C., he served with the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, CDC, in Atlanta, Georgia, as the Director of the Division of Health Education and Promotion, responsible for the agency's activities in environmental, community and health professions education. Max master's and doctoral work in public management, theater and communication was at the University of Southern California. He holds an adjunct lecturer appointment at the George Washington University School of Public Health and Health Services and is the founding chair of the International Congress on Occupational Health, ICO Communication Network. So you hear by this that Max is a perfect person for the keynote. Please.
Thanks. Well, it's a real pleasure to be here today. The word perfect kind of throws me off a little bit. I think this is an imperfect science, actually, that we're talking about. We're developing this science. But I'd like to thank you for the invitation to be here. It's always a pleasure to get out of Washington, D.C., but particularly a pleasure, I think, to be here and talk to you about social media. And thank you for that wonderful dinner last night and this wonderful facility. So let's begin by giving you a little history, if you would. I won't spend long on this American history, but it's about Paul Revere. And the issue is, if we could only communicate like Paul Revere. Paul Revere had, Paul Revere actually was warning the citizens of Boston that the British had landed and were coming to fight in the Revolution. He rallied people in the community. But, Paul Revere had a great message. He had an action message. He had a good way of delivering that information. He had a fast horse. And I think what we forget in the U.S. is that there were other people that were what we call Minutemen that also went out to warn people that the British were coming and that we needed to be armed. My apologies to Andrew for, yes, we're good friends with the British now, I think, at some point we solved this problem. But, Paul Revere is respected. This is a statue of him in Boston, a very nice park. It's well kept up. He's really a hero in our history. But there was also another person named William Dawes who's completely lost to history in the United States, who did the same identical activity that Paul Revere did, had the same communication message. It's the same type of person. He rode south, Paul Revere rode north, but we don't remember really William Dawes at all. This is his crypt in Cambridge, Maryland, in Cambridge, Boston. And when I asked the caretaker if he was really buried here, the caretaker said, well, I think he is. Just a lost person. The difference, and this is the important thing I think for us in communication, the difference between Paul Revere and William Dawes is very simple, and that is that Paul Revere knew which doors to knock on. Okay, that's the key message for us. Now, there was no internet, obviously, at that time, but there were pubs. There were ways to communicate before the issue actually happened. He knew where to go, who had arms, who had money, who had interest. And that's what we need to do. Who are our friends? How do we communicate? How do we translate our information and get it used? You know, we love to do research, but how do we move it into the public space, is what I call it. It was easier, I think, to communicate messages when it was a simpler system. You know, when we just had the internet, or even before the internet, when we used to go to meetings and exchange information, you know, we would have an important messages from our research to communicate to workers, employers, whoever our influencers were. But now, really, the situation looks a lot like this. There's a flood of information. As you know, Wikipedia is a good example. There's good information, there's bad information, there's a lot of bloggers. So the key for us is, how do we communicate in this network, in this tradition now that we find ourselves in? I'm reminded, I have 3 boys. They're not children anymore, they're in their late 20s. But I remember trying to bring some message to my 3 sons who were sitting on the couch. They had their laptops open. They had their phones in their ear. They were watching sports. And they were talking to each other. And here comes their father in to give them a message, right? And that's really where we are. As we have an important message. And that's really the milieu that we're working in now. There's a lot of messages out there. How do we get our message across? And of course, we have, I think, important messages. We've used traditional media, which is not to say that we can't still use traditional media. All of us have newsletters, exhibits, web pages, journal articles are primary sometimes for us to deliver information. NIOSH, for many years, we probably produce about 450 journal articles a year. And that's, you know, our primary way of communicating has been through journal articles up until social media, up until about 10 years ago. We started to look at new media. And this is, I guess for us, Pinterest is kind of the newest thing for us. We're trying to stay current with social media, but to also understand the metrics of social media. What can we measure? How do we know it's working? And that's part of what we're learning. And social media, I think a good place to start is really a definition. It's really a marketing activity. We don't like to use that word. Marketing seems like we're selling something. But we do have products. All of us have products. We produce products. Our research is a product. We've spent time and money in putting this together. That product has to be disseminated. Social media is an activity. It's a way to disseminate information. But more than just dissemination, it's a sharing of information. That's really important. How much are we sharing our information with our partners? How much say do they have over what we do? How much do they understand? How do they feed back into what we're doing? I think there are 3 trends. There are more than 3, but I think the important things that overlie this presentation that I'm giving today are 3 communication trends that we have to advantage as researchers. And that is the advancements in technology, which is pretty obvious. The democratization of data and delivery. Did I just lose this?
Yes.
Yeah. That even sounded funny to me. So, and I think the third one is the constant need for fresh content. If we have websites or blogs, essentially, and can you hear me now? Any better? No better.
No.
Okay. Right? Advances in technology. Let's go back and talk about advancements in technology. So I think these are the things that we really do have to pay attention to, is the new trends in communication, in particular this constant need for fresh content. And that's what social media allows us, is to take our content and freshen it. Essentially, NIOSH does 5 tweets a day, but we have a lot of content. We have a tremendous amount of content. Content is still king for us. It's for, and for our research. So you know, this may be one message before social media, before we had social media to really work with. You know, you maybe went to a meeting, you talked to 3 friends, they talked to 9 other people, and this was kind of the way it was. This was just the way it was. Now, one message after social media, you use your vehicles to transmit information. Each vehicle has really an audience, and of course that audience will transmit information to their audience, which will transmit information to their audience. So we've really substituted another dissemination mechanism by blogging, YouTube's, Twitter, and Facebook, just to take 4. So we have a better way of organizing our data and delivering our data. NIOSH, through, I think, some hard work, has about 350,000 people that follow its Twitter sites. But that's not all. You know, those 350,000 people also retweet information at about 10 to 25%. So that means if I was tweeting information about what was going on at this meeting today, and back to NIOSH, and NIOSH was sending it out, it would reach 500,000 people. That's incredible. It's incredible when you think of what marketing is all about, reaching people to get their eyes on your work. It doesn't mean they're using it, but at least you've started the process where at least people are aware of what you do, they're aware of your brand, and they're aware of your particular interest in terms of the research that you're doing. So it's all about reach. A lot of social media is really about reaching people, putting their eyes on your work. But it's not always that. It's moving to that next level, which is really engagement. It's not that we have to give up meetings like this. You know, one-on-one communication is really the best communication. And we don't want to give it up. It's part of what we do, exhibits, these kind of meetings where we can talk and really have detailed discussions. But social media expands our network. Today I'm not going to talk about all of these. There's just not enough time. Unless you want to ask questions about it. You know, I'll talk about Google, Wikipedia, blogs, and here and a little bit about mobile apps. But this is the big dog in the room. I was really surprised when I looked at Google, and I just came from what they call a Google boot camp. It's held by Google in San Francisco. I signed up. It's a lot of money. I went. I was probably the dumbest person in the room. Only person from government, but I learned, I bet, more than anybody in that room, because they talked a lot about how Google was advancing, what it looks at like, what's really behind the scenes. And I think this also surprised me, and that is that Google, just Google now, not YouTube or Bing, Google is probably used more by Europeans than it is by Americans. 70% of our searches are on Google. On an average, 90% of your searches are on Google. If you are from Finland, right there, from Finland, 97% of your searches are on Google. If you're from Germany, it's 96%. Google is going to have a tough time in its lawsuit, I think, saying that it provides an opportunity for others to enter a system where you have control of 96% of the market. We like that, right? Because people are using it, they can find our information, so we have to understand how really Google works. This is just a picture I took of server. This is where your information is. If you ever wonder where it is, it's contained in these servers. Not just these servers. These are only 1 servers in Washington State in the United States. It is so cold in this room. You can't believe how cold it is. It's so clean. This is so well protected. I mean, there are guards outside. There are dogs. It's 250 acres of servers. This is just one village of servers. This is happens to be a cooling room. I just like the picture, frankly. It's a massive amount of I guess servers and coolers and guards and all. It's a very, very sophisticated system. This happens to be in Finland, same thing. These servers are all over the world, and they're again well protected, and that's where our data is really housed. And of course, the key is
you have to be on the first part of your, search. It has to come up above the fold, basically, because we're lazy. We may go to the second page, but if it's important, the information should be above the fold that you're delivering, whatever it is. In 1999, when I came to NIOSH, I said, I'll do a Google search. I type in, say, where is really NIOSH, I typed in NIOSH, and this is what I got. Basically, do you mean OSHA? No, I don't mean OSHA, because you'll never find us if you go to OSHA. If you don't know that we're not OSHA, this is just as confusing. So I think now, if you type in NIOSH, in the US anyway, it shows you that, this is our website basically. This is Wikipedia. We made it a Wikipedia edit. We get a lot of people from Wikipedia coming to our site. This is our Twitter site. This is our photo site. This is OSHA. We finally driven OSHA to the bottom of our page, right? And this is the Malaysian NIOSH, so, believe it or not, that is riding our success, I think. We welcome them. It's actually a wonderful program. So the point of this is social media drives search. It drives your search. Even if you do a little social media, it will drive search, because Google considers it authority, okay? Because they look at where it's coming from, and it's part of their algorithm. So even if you're doing just a little Twitter, a little bit of blogging, it does drive people to your information. This is a PEROSH site. When I typed in PEROSH in the US, I got nothing about PEROSH. But when I type PEROSH Europe, this basically is what I got. If you type it here, today, if you type in PEROSH, you will get PEROSH at the top of the fold, just by typing in PEROSH. But it's interesting when I did this in the US, because look, the Twitter site is here. There's also, which I think is very important, you have authorities from other states who are doing research that are driving your website. Bauma, and here's Tino. I think there are other Scandinavian Journal here. So, I think these are very important because they are referencing other sites of PEROSH who are doing research. So this is a good thing, I think, in terms of getting your information out. But people will not know generally to search for PEROSH. They will be searching for nanotechnology, or healthcare workers, or being safe in construction, or agricultural safety. So you have to perform tests, really, of how optimized your search is in reaching your information. And of course, if you type in nanotechnology, again, in the States here, nanotechnology safety, our site comes up #1, and that's where we want it to be, because we do a lot of research. And this is only over time, when people use your information and find it, that you get to the top of the pile, essentially. Because if people cannot find you on search engine, they're not going to find your information only by word of mouth, or only by some other technique. So it's not like search engine optimization generates search engines. We don't want people to like us. We want people to love us. Okay? And to be loved, we're saying that you need to do search engine optimization by the topic areas of your research to drive it to the top of the fold. One of the advantages, I'm not going to go through these, but this is very important. Knowing these are just keys to doing, searches, but backlinks. Backlinks are very important, because backlinks are basically authority. What authority are you? What is PEROSH? What is Tino? What is AUVA? What are those? How do we know? What kind of authority basically those organizations carry. So what we can do is, we want to be, NIOSH obviously with 350,000 Twitter followers, if we took a guest blog, let's say from HSL, we asked the HSL to do a blog. It gives HSL authority because we have authority. And then HSL has authority within, let's say, the UK because it again has a robust dissemination mechanism. So it's linking. That's what's so great, I think, about the PEROSH organization, because it links the important research activities in Europe. So essentially these backlinks, again, increase the search engine optimization, and you can measure it. And it's moved, really, we talk about reaching people with social media. It's really beyond reach. It's engagement. We want to engage them in some activity. It's social. It's sharing information. Sharing, not just delivering information. So how do we do this? How do we increase engagement? Meaning the next step. I mean, to me, it's, you know, putting eyes on your information. That's the reach, the dissemination. Engaging people, moving them to action, moving them to impact, and then somehow measuring what that impact is. That's really what research translation is all about. Well, one of the ways you can engage people is you already have Facebook, you have Twitter sites, you certainly use, you certainly use email. But what you want to do is you want to engage your partners. Again, that first slide where you want to engage your partners through your social media, driving them to your website where you have information about your program, about research translation. This is the key, basically. And notice that the arrow is coming to you, not necessarily going out. And you're able to invite people to meetings. You're engaging with people. I remember there's this one person that early on, when we just had a few people on our Twitter site, he was in Italy, and he kept every tweet that NIASH made, he retweeted it, okay? And he still does it. He still, every tweet that we have, no matter what it is, he will read, and even if it's about some meeting in Washington, D.C., he will tweet it. So I just couldn't, I just had to meet this person, right? So I was going to a meeting in Italy, and I think it was a TOX meeting, and I said, can you come to Rome and I'll buy you coffee? You know, I just want to talk with you, you know. He not only came, but he brought his family, all right? Brought his family, so a coffee turned into a lunch, but that was all right. So we had lunch, and he's a safety officer for a small company on the outskirts of Rome. And he is responsible for safety in that, and he thought this would be a good idea to just retweet safety information. Now he's got something like 5,000 followers, right? But it's this creation of another mechanism to get your information out. So we love this guy, really. We want more people like this. So I think if I was to start at a place, and this is what we did at NIASH, we started with a blog. And I remember talking to our lead team about the importance of a blog, and they were not impressed. Yeah, we don't want to do, our researchers are too busy. It's more work for them. They're going to hate this. People will come in with nasty comments. This is not good. But we have a visionary director, and he said, just do it. Just do your blog. And of course, our researchers now like it. It connects them with their audience. It's something they enjoy doing, but yes, it does take time. And you do have to answer people that send you questions. But it builds that sharing, it builds that community. And this is public health, right? We have to be in the public. And that's what the sharing is really all about. It helps us engage, there's no question, but the thing that I really like about blogs is the newspapers now follow our blogs. We don't do any public service announcements anymore because the key newspapers, the Post, the Times, the LA Times, the Kansas City Star, they follow our blogs, and if they are interested in a subject, they will call us. So again, it's this sharing. We don't have to go out to them, they come to us. Blogs are very important for delivering information to the news media. So how can you improve this engagement? Well, a blog is not just putting out information, but you might want to say, if you comment, we'll do something here. If the best two comments or the first two comments, you make some reward. Rewards are very important to someone who is reading your blog. It's not just reading, we're trying to encourage people to share the information or to bring it back to you. Or you put you know, you put an announcement in the blog about the video that's related to the blog. Videos being very important. Or, what are your thoughts about this? We had a blog on anthropomorphic design of cabs in trucks, how they're designed for, you know, truck drivers. Can you improve the design? What's the effect on health of the design of the truck? And we got a lot of input from women who said, you didn't talk about women truck drivers. It was all about men. Okay? It's an important way to get information. We don't have data on women, but maybe we should go get it. We should try to get it wherever we can get that information. It really is a sharing of information. It's a way forward with our public. And again, you know, to reach out and thank people for contributing. It's amazing how people, when you say thank you for your comment on our blog, we hope whatever it is you're doing is successful. People will show up at meetings and say, you commented on a comment that I had. You know, it's amazing how that really works. And this is a blog that I did recently for our 9/11 activity, where NIOSH has a monitoring and healthcare activity in New York for responders who responded to the terrorist attacks in 9/11. So at 9/11, September 11th, I did this blog which explains a little bit more about what we've found through our research in New York. And I substituted in the middle of it, this is our director, John Howard, a video of John Howard talking about what we found. So this is a minute. And again, people that want to know more than just the words can click on the blog and get an update on the information. YouTube is very, very important. What is YouTube? What is it? It is the second largest search engine. Second largest after Google. So if it's the second largest search engine, don't you want to be on that search? Don't you want your researchers to give you maybe 1-minute summaries of your research that you can put next to the blog or separate from the blog, so when people search information, they can essentially find it through YouTube? Lots of, particularly younger people, use YouTube the way we use Google, frankly. So it gives you another opportunity. And of course, it's just huge. YouTube is huge, it's growing. And again, we found that our scientists actually like this. They actually like the blog. They like video, doing a 1-minute video about their research, even more than doing a blog. It's less work, and they get to talk, and they get to see themselves, and their family knows finally what they do for a living, maybe. There's a lot of benefits, but we don't have a problem as much as trying to get our researchers to do, let's say, a blog. So let's say you have a good study, nanotechnology, that comes from, let's say this comes from an organization, a PEROSH organization, but not the HSL. But you're the leader of the HSL or someone in PEROSH comments on this particular, check this nanotechnology study out, this is what it's for, this is what it means, this is why we need to know this information. What does that do? That gives PEROSH authority, and it also is obvious, it puts you on a YouTube search engine, and it also sends people to the study, and you can measure that. You know how many people are coming from YouTube to look at this particular study. So combining this is really important. Combining the visual, with the product, whatever product you're using, and also not only using a famous person maybe at a particular site, but also, substituting a blog and also having pictures. It's not that hard, frankly, because the blog comes from the abstract, really, of the study. Now, you've got to reword it. Your communication people can help in this, but, you've already got sort of the blog. So a 1-minute video accompanying the study, the product, with maybe some video, some pictures that people can use or retweet is really, really very important. This is a really terrible site. It belongs to us, and it's about all of the research that we're doing in the World Trade Center. And when I retired for a weekend, literally a weekend, and came back on Monday to work for the World Trade Center, this just was the first thing I attacked, really. Because look at how this is set up. There's no search. So if you wanted to search for research that we've done in New York, there's no way to do that. And what is this? Do you know it's the 15th thing of the page? Is that where you're... How would you manage this page? Even though it looks okay, it's branded, you know, it also goes into the abstract, and this is what it looks like. You can, you know, when you click on it, you can find out what the study is, including all the typos that are in here. Okay, so this to me is a lot of what our websites look like. They're not as bad as this, but, you know, are they engaging? Are they really engaging? Do they really engage people in terms of the research? So we've changed it to look like this. This is sort of in beta test. I would like to see all NIOSH research eventually develop this kind of model. We have the researcher with a video talking about, for 1 minute, again, 1 minute video, talking about what the research is about. We have the abstract. Click on the abstract, gives you the full keywords, obviously, keywords, so it's searchable by the search engines. Also, research questions. Why did we make our researchers put the 3 key research questions? Google has learned in its Android system that most people that have cell phones ask questions. Where's the pizza place? How do I get here? They are asking questions. So they have changed their algorithm to be more question-oriented. Now, whether people are going to ask these specific questions, but they actually have keywords in the question. So they can get it, again, it facilitates people getting to your information. And of course, we ask them to impact. What's the impact of your research? So I think this, and if you have a blog, you go to the blog of the researcher, you have a little bit of his personal information. This is where this is the National Library of Medicine for us, PubMed, people know what that is, a video, and a Wikipedia site. We have an overall Wikipedia site about what we're doing in New York. So I don't know if you like Facebook or if you don't like Facebook, okay? I don't have a Facebook, but my wife has a Facebook. I think one in the family is enough, you know? But that's a personal. If I had a Facebook, it would be business, okay? So I've got a Twitter site, do blogs, that's enough for me. But basically, Facebook is a very powerful way of delivering information. It's a link back to your research. And it always should have a link. Every Facebook post should have a link back to whatever product you want. And it's searchable. It's very searchable. And it's very powerful. This is Europe, I think, in terms of the daily active users of Facebook. You know, this is obviously, I think, Asia always leads because, you know, they're very much into China is really the dominant factor, but Japan too, and also the rest of the world here. So this is really what I want to talk to you about, and in the remaining time. And how much time do I have?
How much do you need?
Oh, all right, that's good. That's the answer I was looking for. So let's talk about Wikipedia. I know what you think about Wikipedia. Oh my God! You know, when I heard that this was going to be launched, I thought this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard of. Imagine that, a bunch of people getting together and writing an encyclopedia. You know, that I can't imagine. You know, political issues. It'll never. You know, how would this possibly work? Well, it isn't working. It's working very well. We visited Wikipedia in San Francisco. Director and I went out there. We had a full day talking to them about science and evidence-based information, improving occupational safety and health sites with good information. We needed the help of Wikimedia, basically, that runs Wikipedia. We want to do this. We've identified these sites. We want to clean them up. We want to add sites, and we want to know how to do that. We also made some suggestions. We gave them some guidelines about what we learned, and we had a very good meeting with Wikipedia. We have 8 million visits per year on our website, which is good at NIOSH. I mean, compared to other CDC centers, it's a lot. We have a huge number of web pages, but you get 8 million views an hour on Wikipedia. So, you know, my sons would call this, well, duh. You know, if people are going to Wikipedia for information, shouldn't we be on Wikipedia? You know, or shouldn't we clean up Wikipedia to make the information useful and refer again in the reference section on Wikipedia to our research. The key thing I like about Wikipedia is it opens up this long tail of information. Now, you know, an iTunes example, you know, iTunes, when they sell you something, they want to sell it in the short tail. That new Beyonce song, you know, they want 140,000 people to come and buy the song, okay? It's in the short tail, okay? And we like our people to come to NIOSH, and we have some short tail information, our pocket guide to chemical substances. But we have a lot of long tail information that's sort of obscure but important. And in case of iTunes, if I happen to lose my Stones record from 1977 and I wanted to go back to replace it, I would go to iTunes and I would be down here, and perhaps there's only 30 people that day that downloaded that particular song. But it makes up a quarter of their profits. But we're not about profits, we're about delivering information. So if our information is down here, it's important but not that obvious to people, then we need to be in the long tail, and Wikipedia helps us in this niche market. It helps people because of the way search works. If it doesn't send them to your website, it sends them to Wikipedia. Wikipedia sends them to the website because that's where your links are. And these are just examples of some chemicals mainly, you know, that all of the traffic, or significant amount of traffic, and I just took the top 10 here, comes from Wikipedia. So, which means that if we didn't have a Wikipedia site, we'd be losing this traffic. I thought this was a great idea when I thought about it in 2009. I think we had a conference on road safety, and we talked about research translation. What can we say about what we know about road safety? And after the conference was over, I said, please put up on Wikipedia, we'll create the page, but please put up the best practices that you have developed in your countries. And what happened? Did people do it? Well, they sort of did it. They did, this is, I think Malaysia's here, New Zealand, Australia. They did, but they didn't put it up on Wikipedia. They sent it to us. They sent it to NIOSH to put up. Because, why is that? Why is that? When we talk to folks about it, it's just not the culture. It's not our culture to work in a community space together. I mean, we talk a lot about partnerships, particularly NIOSH partnering in the World Health Organization, but when it comes down to actually working together in a public space, it's very difficult because we're essentially putting the information up for everyone to see, right, and then together in that public space, we will manage information. When I talked to the board yesterday at PEROSH, I said, if I would like to submit to PEROSH a pre-proposal, that we look at doing something like this together. In other words, taking 3 issues, maybe prevention through design, maybe a chemical, and we see if we could put our information and integrate it in Wikipedia. Not just NIOSH information, but what is happening, like in nano. We are doing all this nano research. What is the INRS? What have they found? What has Tino found? What has Austria found? You know, it basically to put in a global sense a page that really is all-encompassing of what we know about health. And there's where, you know, PEROSH is mentioned in the resources. It'll drive people to information. This is something we did recently with the chemicals. We just simply asked to move things to the side. You know, this is not going to change. The structural relationships of this isn't going to change. So we have tried to edit what chemicals we have information about to make the information a little bit more understandable. This is just scrolling down, and we put in RELs and PELs, which are our exposure limits. I didn't want to do this because I was worried that somebody would come in and make changes to these numbers and we would never find out. Well, inside of Wikipedia, there's a very strong chemical group. They're volunteers. I didn't know this. They're Germans mainly. They're very tough guys. They're very tough, you know, and they said, put it up. We monitor it. Put it up. It has to be up there. And then when we were in Wikipedia, the media, we asked them if we could freeze this page, basically, so there can't be any messing around with this information. And then we're in the process of discussing that further. So we put a video. This is a flocking worker's lung. You know, those are the small fibers that people inhale from like working with cotton substances, t-shirts. It's a big issue. We put this page up. This is a complete page that we created. But the first day it was up, we got 6,000 hits. 1,000 of those came to the NIOSH webpage. That's the power of this global network, I think, that we haven't yet harnessed. This is a video. We put the video into Wikipedia. How many videos are there in Wikipedia? Less than 0.1%. Okay, so those videos that you produce for your researchers, find a place to put them in Wikipedia, find a page where they belong. There's no reason we can't put them up. We just haven't been, Wikipedians have not really put this information up. We can also put prevention information in. Prevention is not one of the categories, but we created the category because we think prevention information is important. So that went into Wikipedia. And this is the resources reference. This is for the flocking workers, just to show you how the resources pile up. People can find information and find the studies if they really want to look at the complete studies. Wikidata is the new thing that we were informed when we were out. We asked Wikimedia what's new for Wikipedia. They have a system now where we can share data, raw data. You have a database. President in the United States said, after 3 months in office, said, any public institute must share its data with the public. Put it up. We did. We sent it to CDC. CDC put it on their website. Do people look at it? Well, they sort of do. Why not put it in Wikipedia where people are going for information? See if this will work for us. But if we just have data and we want to share data, we have a mechanism where people can do that in the public space. They don't have to come to CDC. They don't have to come to NIOSH. They just go to Google. They find the information. It's on Wikipedia. And I developed, this is the first page I ever developed a couple of years ago, just to show you what happens sometimes. Vandalism on the site, because that's something we're interested in. This is just rollover protection, and it really was a reference to tractor rollover protection. So the site was up for a while, and I was looking at it, and I was real proud of the people that were coming, and it was much more than were coming to the Institute site. And all of a sudden there was a paragraph that dealt with the painter Felicianne Rops. Okay? Someone just obviously didn't read the page and just put something having to do with Rops, which is the person, up on a rollover protection page. So I just took it and moved it to another page, put a link on that page to just show where I had moved it. The person sent me a note back saying, thank you very much. I just didn't read it very well. And that's vandalism. We also had Volvo come on the site, and I thought that was great because they were talking about their rollover protection related to seats that they've designed, but that wasn't it. It was about for a new car. So I just went in there, found their rollover protection page, and just put it there. Never heard from Volvo, though, I must say. But again, it's not overly, there's a lot of software that's been developed now to track your edits and also accuracy. And I think this statement is right. It is basically the depth of the articles need to be improved. I don't agree with that, actually. I think I look at Wikipedia as kind of a teaser for you to get to the articles by the link, our research. I don't think we have to go into depth very much, but we have to improve the readability. What level do you think Wikipedia is written at, generally? What would you guess?
The high level.
High level. You're right. 14th grade. People say, well, it's written down. No, it isn't written down. So I think that's one thing we can do is to better write our pages in Wikipedia so people understand that first level of interest. We have hired the first 2 Wikipedians in residence in the federal government. No one else has Wikipedia in residence. They're basically kids. Okay? Emily is a medical student at the University of Chicago and has been editing Wikipedia since she was 13 years old. And she describes herself as a nerd, but I don't think of her that way. I think of her as a very mature, dedicated person who likes to edit Wikipedia. and she works for us part-time. And Darren here is also working in the Washington office, and we're editing Wikipedia. They're part-time. And this started, our editing of Wikipedia started with summer students. It's a great project if you're interested in doing it. And also, there are Wikipedians all over the world who can help us edit. We know who they are and where they are, and they're good people, and they are volunteers who come in and show us how to better do this. We're going to have a, this is a commercial, okay, just briefly. We're going to have a NIVA conference on social media and Wikipedia in April 5 through 7. Right now it's scheduled for Helsinki, but we're still talking about the location of it. NIVA was grateful enough to give us a grant for this. And it's more in depth. It's really, we want people to come to the meeting. We'll have a whole day on Wikipedia where you bring your computer and you actually learn how to edit Wikipedia. You sign in, you edit, you bring things in that you want to do. Plus we're going in more in depth in terms of social media. I think these are our course objectives. Nothing unusual, you know, things that really make a difference, we think. Twitter is important. Just a few more topics about it. Obviously, if PEROSH has an important study that one of its members has, you know, developed, let's say Andrew sends out a video, we pick it up as NIOSH and send it out and also include the video in our Twitter site. It goes to 250, 400,000 people, okay, and it builds authority. Why don't you come and do a guest blog on the NIOSH site? We offer that. Again, it builds authority. Why don't we do maybe a guest blog on your site? When you have one, it helps us as a community develop together. But just a few words about mobile. If it isn't mobile, if your website isn't mobile, you're missing an opportunity. In the US, I don't know what it is in Europe, but in the US, people that are looking at Twitter are, you know, almost 70% are doing it on their cell phones. So if your website is not, you can't find it or it's not set up for mobile, we're missing a real opportunity. And this is where things are going. So all of your site, everything on your site has to be able to be accessed mobily, unless you feel it can be archived somewhere. Because essentially people are looking on their phones for information. And if they come to your site and it's messy, they may never come back. Just some data, you know, about laptops, smartphones. Clearly smartphones are on ascendance. I don't even know. We talked about desktops. You know, desktops are, in the States anyway, are just not being used very much anymore. People are accessing on laptops and iPads and phones. It's kind of a new system, and our material really has to be basically searchable on these new devices. Which country uses smartphones the most in Europe? I think you'll be surprised at the answer. Which is the #1 country in Europe in terms of use of smartphones? Italy. Did I hear someone say Spain? Spain is actually, Spain is actually the #1 site for cell phone use. So when I looked at the figures of cell phones that are owned by these countries, there are more cell phones owned in these countries than there are people. Okay, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because we have more than one phone, or you have a work phone and a private phone. But without exception, you know, I think the smartphone, and this is smartphones, not just phones, as you know, we're reaching the apogee of probably smartphone use at this point. So we need to be able to use it. I think this is us. You know, we are small, but we're a dedicated audience. And I like this because I think we can control our information. We can organize our information, but we have to do it together. And we have to do it in the public space. To really, in the next 10 years, it would be wonderful to see us able to edit in the public space and control the security of information. And it's just not NIOSH information, it's not Canadian information, but all of us together, the PEROSH Research Institutes, NIOSH, Canadians, the Koreans, Mexicans, the Brazilians, that we'd all add something to the sites. Not just the English site, but we'd also use the other sites. The Spanish site particularly is important.
5 minutes? Okay.
So I think I'm right at the end here. So basically, if you know management, you see the management funnel. It's all about exposure and influence, and then measurement. However you want to measure. You have to decide which measures you're going to use for each one of these areas. This is our dashboard where we measure our website traffic, our social media traffic. We're particularly concerned every month that this goes up. It goes up in Wikipedia particularly every month. So it's not, then this information has to be put back into your policy decisions. And this is what moved us, I think, to do more Wikipedia. I have a couple more slides. If you're a communication person, you're addicted to bright, shiny objects. I am, particularly. And I think the mother of bright, shiny object is social media. You have to really decide in a program what it is, in a small sense, that you're going to use. Are you really going to use Pinterest? Why are you going to use Pinterest? Because it happens to reach women more than other social media sites? Well, yes, but do you have women's information for women at work? Is that a key part of what you're trying to do? Then maybe you want to use that particular site and test it. It's not like you can use everything. Start small and measure really what results are. This is how it can get out of control. When I was in San Francisco, I was driving behind a small car, and all of a sudden this flashed on. This billboard just flashed on and said, "Hi Kate, nice day for your convertible." And I thought, I stopped the car, I jumped out of the car, almost got killed on the highway here, pulled over, took a picture, and then I just couldn't figure out what this was all about. So I went to the dealer. The dealer's name was down here in the corner. The dealer happened to be on Van Ness, which is very close to where this was. I went into the dealer, I said, I was driving behind this car, and this flashed on. He said, "Oh yeah, that's right. If you bought a car in that month, and you gave us your cell phone number, every time you went by a billboard in San Francisco, it would greet you." and of course, being right brain, I'm thinking, "Oh, this is awesome. How can we use this? We could remind people to use their hearing equipment." It's too invasive. Okay, I think. But the immediate thing was, how can I use this? Not, it's too invasive. Okay? So I think you have to really develop your algorithm and start small. I start, again, with the blog, but your content is king. Basically, how are you going to use it? How are you going to measure it? And what is essentially the impact? How are you going to measure your impact? But how are you going to measure engagement? People coming to meetings, maybe, that you've met on social media, which is something that we do? Or is it something more than that? Again, my commercial, please, we're going to get back to you, I think, with permission, to contact you directly to attend this meeting. If you can't stand, if you absolutely need more information about social media, this is where you would come. So my final slide, this is me right here. I don't think I'm here, but I was here. Okay? When I first started in the government, I really thought that the important thing in starting was what you knew. Okay? I mean, you spend so many years in college, right? So what's really important for communication is what you know. Then after I was sort of in government a while, I sort of realized it wasn't what you knew, it was who you knew that was really the key. And now that I'm retired and sitting at my computer, I know it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's what you know about who you know. And that is social media. Thank you.
Did you use #TrendsOsh? Did you get something, Daniela?
Yeah, well, that it can be used much more, I think, after this talk. So please.
There are different possibilities to communicate with us. You can do it now directly. We have some time to get questions to Max's presentation, but also please use hashtag #TransOsh
On Twitter.
on Twitter. Do you have some questions? No? I have one. You said the first page of Google is the most important. And you said you have to test the correct keywords. Which means at the end we need to know the words of our workers. How do you get this language? You have to find the right words.
One of the ways that we've done that, it's only one way you can do it, is we look at, on our Twitter site, we look at who retweets our information, and we look at what words they use. To, let's say we have a study on nanotechnology. We look at the 10,000 tweets that the retweets that we get, and we see how they describe the information. They might just say, they might not use the word nanotechnology, they might use another word. So it gives us a clue about keywords and about what our partners are using as keywords. And then of course Google has all kinds of sophisticated ways that they will help you. In other words, you could type in now some of this you have to pay for, some of it is free, but you type in nanotechnology in their software and they tell you how people have searched in the past for this particular topic. It's worth thinking about, particularly if you're going to put keywords in your research. So it's an amazing kind of system, because you think about Google knows more about who comes to our website than we do, right? I mean, they know everything, so it's just a question of getting that information.
That's very interesting. Inga.
The EU OSHA would like to make a Wikipedia that are more closed. It's not part of the global Wikipedia. Would you think that would be a good idea, or would you think that we should actually put our information in the global Wikipedia and then not be so afraid of that something has been changed, or that somebody will do something to our research information?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a political question. I like the OSH wiki, but it's behind a firewall. Okay, meaning it's not completely searched by Google. They have a way of getting behind the firewall, but they don't completely search it. So the information is not available in a search. So that's a problem. But it's not that we don't need the OSH wiki, because to me it's almost like the ILO encyclopedia in a way. And that certainly had a use. But what I think is we ought to move beyond that. We ought to go where people are going for information. And they're going to Wikipedia, and we can manage it together. We can manage it together by deciding what we want, what areas, maybe once a year we would decide what areas we're going to concentrate on together. And we don't have to come together in a meeting, but we see each other enough in meetings that we could arrange a meeting if we need to, but we don't have to have separate meetings. I mean, it's digitally able to do this, but it is not our culture right now. Our culture is, I'll write something and we'll keep it behind the firewall because nobody can mess with it. And I think it would take. It's easier to say than do, but it will drive our information. I truly believe that. So I think we ought to take a small sample and see if we can prove that assumption.
Andrew, you have a question?
Yes, Max, you mentioned that, for example, Pinterest, for example, was perhaps more used by women than men. So when you're thinking about your end users, have you segmented the market that you're interested in and identified which social media routes best address those particular end users?
Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's really important, because I was almost certain that once we built a Twitter site, that would be the primary driver to our website. I mean, that makes sense, right? You're doing 5 tweets a day. But what happened is, it's the third driver to our site. What happens is, it's a fire hose. You're spraying out your information, and there's something on healthcare, there might be something on trenching. It's all going out every day, but it's not organized. So what we did was we organized 13 independent sites by sector. So we have a construction sector Twitter site, we have a healthcare site, and it's much better. It's not as big, but you wouldn't expect it to be, but there's a lot more interaction. You know, there's more tweeting, there's more that's your community. And I would say, well, that might be a bit tough to manage, but that's our experience, is really, if you can break down the silos, and you have a particular, we don't happen to have a nano Twitter site, but we could, and we should, but that would be a great international site. That would be a great global site. Frankly, not just an Irish site. But yeah, I think we have to pay attention to it. And we found out, you know, that when we do women in the workplace issues, the Pinterest was a very helpful venue for that. So I think you do have to segment. That's that's old communication, but that's basically what we have to do.
Thank you. Thank you for Danuta.
I'm interested about cost of these activities. So, how many months you at your organization NIOSH is involved in it, and how you calculate the cost of it, because it takes time for many people.
Social media, people say, oh, it's free. And it's not free, okay? Because you have to manage it. You know, yeah, it's free as far as, like Wikipedia, they maintain that whole site. We don't have to maintain it. We understand how to use it. But we have our 2 Wikipedians who are part-time and paid a lowly salary, I might say, but they're students, okay? But they just know the system. That's 2 part-time Wikipedians. We have a full-time person on our blog, and we have 1 person full-time that is on our Twitter site. And then you have it's part of your management structure. It's a percentage of time for the communication director at our site. And that's about it, because we have a community of communicators inside NIOSH which meet regularly to decide information and how this is managed. But it is definitely not free. And I think this gives me an opportunity to just say something about the communication, where communication is going. You know, it's disturbing to me that communication people sometimes are the first to go, right? We all communicate. We all know how to communicate. That, I think, is just so false, because if you're going to do research translation, the people that are coming out of school now are so well trained in global digital information that's almost the first place you should go. You know, start them as an entry, start them as a summer intern, you know, and work up from there, but not to cut down on if you really want to mix it up with your community and have them be a part of your community. It seems to me where you want to start is people that know how to get to that community. You know, maybe you're not going to have that extra epidemiologist. I love epidemiologists, but maybe you're not going to hire them till later. I think we have to pay attention to really the professionalism of some of the new communication people that are coming out. But there is an expense.
Thank you. Please use the breaks to discuss specific things with Max. He's here for the whole day, and we also have a discussion in the afternoon. Again, thank you. I want to say thank you to our conference painter. Can you imagine that you can put 80 slides on one slide, to one slide, and 1 hour talk to one slide? Thank you. So we split up now. Please, the ones who want to go to session 2 and 3, the e-tools and the prevention through design, please leave the room. The others who want to stay here for the aging at work, please stay here and use #TransOsh on Twitter.